Sign up now and prepare for the future.
Your future is whatever you make it. So make it a good one.
Future's now, old man.
The future of AAA gaming. What does it look like and what can we expect? I'm not going to confirm nor deny whether or not we have a time machine here at the Goo Crew, but we have been able to accurately predict a lot of gaming stuff, such as when we called out The Day Before for being a scam prior to its release, or the failure of X-Defiant before it shut down its servers. Both of those videos got a lot of hate, but then everyone got real quiet when we ended up being correct. But no, okay, we don't have a time machine. All we had to do was look at the patterns, the clues, so to speak, that you become familiar with over the years as a gamer. The better informed we are as consumers, the better judgment we can have over what the future holds in the industry. And no, we're not always right. We have made mistakes in the past, just like when both Kopak and I predicted that the Indiana Jones game was going to be bad. I don't have high hopes for this game, but I hope to be pleasantly surprised and proven wrong.
I've got a feeling. I haven't watched the trailer or anything. I know nothing about it, but my hunch is it's gonna be meh at best. We
were actually proven very wrong, and it ended up being a huge success, which I was happy about. I mean, I want to be wrong about things that I predict to be like a negative or bad. We can't make it too obvious that we have a time machine. But my point is that if we can break everything down that happened within the past couple of years, along with expected announcements and tech updates, we'll have a pretty good idea of what AAA gaming holds in the future. As always, with my commentary style videos, you get a little bit of facts, a little bit of opinions, and a little bit of Monica in my life. So there's no Webster's dictionary definition for what a AAA game is, which is kind of crazy considering the fact that there's really no debate when a game comes out, like whether it's AAA, AA, or an indie game. To prove this, I want to play a little game with you guys. Let me put some titles up on screen and see if we both get the same answers. And don't look anything up, don't cheat, don't be like, oh, is this a AAA game? Okay, we want to see, this is like a social experiment. Let's start off with Spider-Man 2. I classify that as a AAA title. A Plague Tale. That one's definitely a AA title. Balatro is an addicting game, and it's an indie game. Elden Ring. Give 3 A's to that bitch. Mouthwashing. That game was traumatizing. It hurt me in ways I didn't think I could be hurt. It honestly scarred the deepest depths of my soul. And even if you don't know what it is, I mean, you can tell by just looking at it, it's an indie game. And so on and so forth. If any of you got different answers than what I did, then you're just wrong. Sorry. I'm kidding. I found a website here that attempts to break down the differences between AAA, AA, and indie titles, and I actually think it does a good job, although none of it is presented as opinionated, but as facts. And there's no sources or reasoning behind how they came up with some of the numbers here. So their definition of AAA games are blockbuster-style games developed by large companies with substantial budgets and teams numbering in the hundreds. Okay, I would agree with that. The development budget for an indie game is a few thousand to $1 million, which I kind of disagree with because there's a ton of indie games that have ranged from a couple thousand to millions, plural. But moving on to that, over 50 million for AAA, and in between those two for AA. The team size is large teams for AAA. Gaming and technology is cutting edge. It says it has a higher threshold for success, which I don't think I've ever thought about, but I actually don't disagree with that. Oh, look, in the notable examples of AA games, it does a Plague's Tale as a AA game. Ayo. What kind of a wait, hold on, before we move on here. Can indie games be AAA? Can a fucking dog be a banana? No, they're two different things. That it cannot be a real question that somebody asked. I'm sorry if you did ask that and I just called you fucking stupid. Wikipedia, another super credible website, says, in the video game industry, AAA is a buzzword used to classify video games produced or distributed by a mid-size or major publisher, which typically has higher development and marketing budgets than other tiers of games. Again, don't disagree with it. And then you look at Reddit, which is, I would say, like the personal voice, the voice of the people. There's a lot of to me's, or where I'm from, or I personally define, so clearly this is just something that has been coined and universally accepted by the industry, with a lot of if, ands, or buts in between. The term AAA is speculatively a word, and I'm trying to doubt myself now. Speculatively is a word. Yeah, why does it look and sound so wrong? It's speculatively originated from a Wall Street rating, which indicated a high degree of reliability, which is kind of ironic because there's been so many AAA titles that have been a low degree of reliability. Oh my god, I just realized this guy's talking about eggs. Where I'm from, eggs are classified AAA, AA. This is a gaming forum. What are you doing, Popeyo? Poyeyo. Farting Bob. 2024 was actually a mild year for AAA gaming. Some notable titles that released this year are Suicide Squad, Helldivers 2, Skull and Bones. Wait a minute. Skull and Bones is not a AAA game, okay? It's a self-proclaimed quadruple A, first in the world title. This entire article is a fucking meme, dude. Skull and Bones marked the first quadruple A game in history. CD Projekt Red dares to unleash the world's quintuple? I don't know, dude. I haven't been in math class in like 14 years, okay? The Witcher 4 and Cyberpunk sequel, who will pick up the mantle, write the check, and dare to develop an game first. This just looks like it's screaming, dude. This whole website looks like it's screaming. Ours will be It's just so dumb. This can't be a real article. Oh wait, it says that they're making fun of Skull and Bones. It would help if I actually read this, huh? Okay, that makes more sense. This is a meme. In reality. Stellar Blade, Black Myth Wukong, the Silent Hill 2 remake, Dragon Age Failguard, Black Ops 6, Stalker 2, the Elden Ring DLC, and Indiana Jones, just to name a few. I might have an unpopular opinion here, but 2024 really felt like a placeholder year for gaming, especially considering the looming shadow of huge releases coming up in 2025 with games like GTA 6, Doom, Dark Ages, and Avowed. And when I say placeholder, I really don't mean to take away from the good that we've gotten this year. Like, I don't want it to diminish the good that we've gotten, because Wukong and Stellar Blade were games I didn't even know were coming, and I was surprised they exceeded my expectations. Stalker 2 was awesome as well, and the Silent Hill 2 remake was fun. I mean, there's a lot of good last year. But I gotta say, I'm way more excited for what's to come in 2025. There were significant events in 2024 that I think are gonna be extremely influential for 2025 and the future of AAA gaming. Let's start with the release of Suicide Squad. Oh look, a dummy's guide to ruining a live service game. Let's take a look at this here. Step 1, sell a $100 copy of a game promising 3-day early access just to close the servers on the first day due to a game-breaking bug. But don't worry. Ooh, your $100 will also get you skins included. Oh, except if you want all the versions of that skin, you gotta pay more dollars for that. Step 2, make the core gameplay loop repetitive, boring, and grindy. Sounds about right. Step 3 is just a picture of poop from a butt. Suicide Squad being a commercial failure, along with games like Concord, is showing how difficult it is to create something sustainable long-term for the multiplayer shooter titles. I'm mostly talking about new IPs because Call of Duty is an extremely successful franchise, with Black Ops 6 selling over 500 million copies to date. But that's something that's been around for years. It seems like no matter how much backlash or criticism those games receive, how much people hate those games, they'll still buy the fucking game and give them a ton of money. You bunch of hypocrites. With that being said, Suicide Squad had a lot of potential to be successful. There was a lot of hype behind that game, but they didn't make it fun. Much like many other instances, it seemed like greedy business practices took priority when designing the game, making it feel like more of a money grab than an actual fun time. For a while, it was looking like the only AAA titles we would get in the future for multiplayer shooters that would actually stick around were from established franchises. That is until Helldivers 2 came around. No, technically Helldivers 2 is not a brand new IP. I mean, it's got 2 in the title, so I'm kind of lying here. I get it, Einstein. But it didn't come from a well-known or established multiplayer shooter background. The difference from the first to the second game is night and day, so let's count it as a new-ish title. New to me. New to being really successful in mainstream media, and new to AAA. It is a great example of the love a game can receive when it's fun, when it's well put together, it's got good gameplay, and a lot of personality. This is, of course, including the whole debacle with PlayStation account requirement bullshit that did significantly impact the game's success for a while, but at its core, it's still a really good game. PvP games are on the same boat, but they're a different story because they add another layer of maintenance, and that is keeping away the cheaters. Those pesky bitches. But of course, either way, PvP, PvE, it is a step in the right direction for AAA shooters. The release and success for Helldivers 2 gave me hope. Hope that publishing studios with deep pockets learn from the mistakes of their failures and start funding titles without pushing for greedy bullshit. And the hope that we can get new IPs that haven't been around since the 1900s. Oh, back in my day, Call of Duty used to be good. I won't talk about Marvel's rivals just yet because it's too soon to tell if it's going to stick around or if it's just another hype wave that will eventually wash away, but at least I can say the game has a lot of potential. The next thing I want to talk about about is Ubisoft's downfall. I've talked mad shit about Ubisoft titles way too much on this channel, so instead of focusing on critiquing the games, let's look at some stats. More specifically, I want to look at their stock market stuff because I think this is what they mostly care about as well. And I want to make it very clear that I'm also aware games aren't the sole reason why stocks go up and down for these companies, but they do have an influence. Let's talk about the spike in 2007 where we can attribute it to the release of Assassin's Creed, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfare 2, and a ridiculous amount of other titles. Holy shit, what the hell is all this? Hell's Kitchen the game? My French coach. But on the title, it's my Japanese coach. Well, so what is he? French or Japanese? Or is he French-Japanese? Pets, sports, dog playground. There's a lot of these pets bunny, pets cats clan, pets cats clan, pets monkeys. Imagine what? Why is this a game? Remember that time IGN gave Imagine Party Babies, a Wii shovelware game, a better score than PMD2? I was under the impression that Ubisoft didn't used to be a greedy company. Back then they made game with substance and then turned into the shell of a company that we know now, but I think I was wrong. Definitely giving me a new perspective. But even with this new information, I still believe the iconic franchises were the ones that propelled this company to be a giant in the industry. Assassin's Creed, the Tom Clancy games, Prince of Persia, all games that have been watered down over the years or just straight up killed. I'm sorry, I'm still in shock over some of those games. In 2018, Ubisoft released Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which did considerably well for the series, selling over 10 million copies and reviewing really well as well. Well. The next spike here is in 2020, with notable game releases being Watch Dogs, Legion, and Valhalla. Before I get too bored looking at all these graphs, let me get to the point. They've been on a steady decline, but 2024 was an abysmal year for them. Shit release after shit release, and the straw that broke the camel's back was Star Wars Outlaws. Poor reviews, poor sales numbers, the general consensus of being tired of getting these lukewarm games for full price, and the stock went down. I just came up with the best analogy for this. Let's just say I own a restaurant. Finally made my way back to the kitchen. You come in and order chicken with asparagus and mashed potatoes. That's just what I had for lunch today. I can't come up with anything else. It's a little bit pricey, but you've read really good reviews, so you're gonna try it out anyway. It turns out to be the most delectable meal that you've ever had in your entire life. There is a rat underneath my chef's hat making that meal, and it's so good you keep coming back for more. Over time, the meal starts to decline in taste and quality, even though you can't quite put your finger on what it is, but it's just not the same. And after a while, it just ends up being disgusting. Even though it's literally disgusting, you keep coming back for more because you have a small semblance of hope that it'll bring you the same joy that the first meal brought you. The problem is that I got greedy with all the money that I'm making off of these suckers, and I stopped using quality ingredients over time. That chicken isn't chicken, it's the pigeon that I caught yesterday. That asparagus is from the Dollar Tree, and the mashed potatoes are made from powder. You see, because it's cheaper for me to use these ingredients, and these suckers keep coming back and buying it anyway, so why would I change what I'm doing? That's literally what Ubisoft has been doing with their games over all these years. There's a really interesting Reddit post I wanted to show you guys that highlights the reason why AC Shadows was delayed. It states that some of the official reasons were that they wanted to refine the experience and that they were learning from the Outlaws release, but it also goes into some interesting points that the devs have actually been pushing for delay for quite a while now. The pattern of development teams being on strict timelines and publishing studios pushing for a release before a game is ready is prominent within Ubisoft, with some even speculating that the only reason Assassin's Creed Shadows was approved for a delay was that the poor reception of Outlaws gave Ubisoft HQ a little bit of a reality check. There's a lot more to get into here, like layoffs, the closures of studios, canceled games, etc., but that would honestly be its own video. Ubisoft might be the butt of the joke here, but they're definitely not the only company with these shitty business practices. I just think that as far as future impact, they are such a massive company that they serve as a good example for other massive companies, which hopefully will drive necessary changes in the industry. Now let's talk about journalism. Dragon Age Veilguard reviewing really well on major journalistic websites while actually being really bad presented quite a bit of a problem in 2024, highlighting journalistic integrity issues. The fact that it was put on blast again can hopefully drive change in the future. Another instance was when IGN was accused of rigging a community poll they held for Game of the Year. The basis of the accusation was that they were intentionally deflating numbers for Black Myth Wukong so that it would not win their community Game of the Year.
A few weeks ago, IGN set up a system to decide the Game of the Year. In this, you have a huge catalogue of titles that face off in duels. In theory, the game that eventually wins the most duels will be crowned Game of the Year. In a perfect world, every game shown here should have the same numerical amount of duels. I have thoroughly tested this, and the system will continue to show you a game even when you made it lose multiple times. Unfortunately, people have noticed some absolutely insane out-of-this-world tampering for Black Myth Wukong. Yesterday, Wukong went from winning the Game of the Year to quickly collapse. Notice how it got 44k more votes in the span of 60 minutes, while the other game's duels count remained stable. And some people even recorded it as it was happening. And now the game has dropped to 3rd place. This is not IGN removing bots. This is an insane amount of losing duels added to Wukong, while all the other games have remained stable.
Honestly, I don't want to be the sheep that just believes everything I'm told based off of a fancy spreadsheet or some numbers that I can't be bothered to fact check myself. So I decided to look into it, and it gained enough traction to garner a response from IGN themselves. They tried diluting the whole thing to just being a pet project and harped on the fact that this was informal. This was not official. It wasn't real, which honestly, I don't see why that would be relevant. Formal or informal, if what they were being accused of was actually happening, where they were rigging the polls and everything like that, it's still shit. Then they go on to say it's based off a win-loss ratio rather than a total number of votes, which doesn't directly dispute the 20% decline in votes in a short amount of time that the accusation states. So again, that doesn't address the concerns at all. With comments throughout the post saying how much of a treat it was to watch everything happen and how much fun they're having making these random polls. This is the longest, most boring fucking article I've ever had to force myself to read through. But I did it anyway because I really wanted to understand their point of view. When they finally get to addressing the accusation, they blame it on someone who's out to get them. I'm not making this up. They said specifically that because they are under a microscope, someone manipulated Black Myth Wukong votes to frame IGN. You can read and interpret it yourself, but that's what I got from this, and it feels so unlikely. If this is what actually happened, then I legitimately feel bad for IGN having these masked bandits out there muddling their reputation. But what the fuck is this supposed to be, a Scooby-Doo episode? Oh, I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for the meddling IGN. One of the other things that they were criticized for that pretty much went hand in hand with this was a post they made on X. This post was directly related to the poll, and even though Black Myth was in the top 5, when they posted the picture, it excluded Black Myth Wukong. They claimed that there was such a drastic change when this blew up that they didn't have enough time to change the picture since it was already scheduled to be posted. Now let's say we believe them for a second. If this really did happen, then we're all human, we all make mistakes, but for as many people that work there, checks and balances have to be a thing. I personally find it hard to believe that it was just scheduled and the picture was never double checked or whatever before it posted, especially because this is a live poll. So you wouldn't just schedule something and forget about it knowing the results could change on a live poll. Checking the post to make sure you have the correct games on there just feels like the obvious thing to do. So yes, human errors are a thing. Yes, people make mistakes, but it's
What are you doing?
IGN. I read this long ass post that keeps making me want to jump headfirst into an empty pool, but my gut feeling just tells me that this was a big whoopsie fucksy that they got caught for. Why do I feel that way? Well, if you look at the possible motives, why would IGN do something like this? Money. They could have been given a payment to showcase certain games. It's as simple as that. Why would a random person take time out of their day to rig a random poll at IGN to frame them for being Black Myth Wukong haters? Well, I don't know. That, to me, it just seems like such a big waste of fucking time. Maybe personal vendetta beats me. What do you guys think though? I will personally never sell out. They could come to me with $1 billion to positively review a shit game and I'd be like, fuck no, did you say $1 billion? I mean, I find it very unlikely that they would come to me, a person who averages 1,000 views per video, and say I'd give you $1 billion to review my game. So yeah, I'd sell out for $1 billion. I would jump into a pool fully clothed for a bag of hot Cheetos and a Red Bull. I'd let you slap me on the forehead for $23.75. I would definitely sell out for $1 billion, okay? Somebody's gonna take that clip out of context and be like, oh look, oh, she said she would sell out. It's a joke. You can't take what I say seriously, okay? We've derailed, I'm so sorry. This past meme of a year has sparked a lot of conversations and critiques that have never been so prevalent before. Like when Swen roasted greedy publishers in his Game of the Year speech, which was awesome, by the way. This has given me a positive outlook for some positive changes in the future of AAA games. Now imagine it's the year 3000. Not much has changed, but we do live underwater now. And your great-great-great-granddaughter is doing fine. That joke is not funny. It's not gonna land, but I don't care. I'm gonna keep it. PC nerds, gather round. Our wallets are screaming because it's time for upgrades. The RTX 50 series Blackwell family was just announced, and my lord, I'm sitting in a puddle right now. Just to give you an idea of how powerful these things are, or are claiming to be, I should say, the lowest tier for the 50 series, the 5070, is gonna be just as powerful as the highest tier of the previous cards, the 4090, and cheaper by around $1,000. These achievements are attributed to the AI capabilities of the new cards, which bro would not stop talking about in the announcement.
Artificial intelligence, AI.
Agentic AI tests and learns things through the actions that we take, understanding and running systems in the background to produce better results in whatever you're asking for it to do. NVIDIA is reporting that it's implementing technologies in their cards that are helping push the development of agentic AI forward, as they believe it's, quote, gonna go through the roof.
System of models that reason about a mission, break it down into tasks, and retrieve data or use tools to generate a quality response.
There was a scaling system that once only affected the production of computers, and now it can act as the foundation for AI to learn and grow at rapid rates through training and testing on the spot. This is 100% going to result in computers becoming sentient.
Are you really going to boot up Overwatch again?
What the fuck?
You played 7 hours straight just to derank earlier today. I mean, I'll boot it if you want, but no amount of AI-generated frames are gonna fix your dog-ass aim.
Okay. So what does this mean for gaming in non-nerd terms? It's gonna be fucking insane. AI can already fix issues like frame drops and screen tear through generating frames artificially and on the spot, but it's only gonna get better.
The latest generation of DLSS also generates beyond frames. It can predict the future, generating 3 additional frames for every frame that we calculate.
AI could lead to the development of games with adaptive gameplay. Kind of like how Alien Isolation had their aliens learning from your patterns, but like on steroids, and so much more. On top of new GPUs, the last couple of years have brought things that significantly upgraded our hardware to the point where I don't even think games have really kept up with it, which gives gaming a very high ceiling to reach. New generation CPUs, DDR5 RAM replacing DDR4, M.2 storage replacing the old SSDs. I mean, there's a lot of upgrades in hardware over the last couple of years. Over at console land, we've also seen a lot of upgrades that have significantly increased the performance of gaming. The release of the latest generations in 2020 increased the standard frames per second to 60, which I guess is good enough. I personally don't play unless it's at least 300 FPS. I'm kidding. I'm just giving consoles shit, okay? I actually grew up on consoles. I have a lot of love for the simplicity and ease of use they bring to the table, bringing gaming to the masses. Console gaming has and always will have an important role to play in AAA titles because most games are actually designed with consoles in mind first and foremost. I really wanted to look at the tech that's going to be influencing console land in the future, but it honestly, the stuff for PCs, like the CPUs and stuff, kind of leaks into consoles because it increases the hardware capability for when they decide to make the next generation of consoles. But with that being said, there's a lack of credible information out there for the release of the next generation, so I can safely assume we're still years out from getting a new console, like the PS6 or the Xbox H2O or whatever they're gonna name their next one. If it's named the Xbox H2O, then I really do have a time machine. This website goes into an entire article here about how they don't know anything other than the PS6 is gonna be better. No shit, Sherlock. The next generation of consoles are going to happen. They will be better. They will be faster. There will be new games made for them, and they will sell for money. You heard it here first, folks. This video is aimed at putting together information for AAA titles, but of course that's all going to leak into AA and indie games as well. But it's cool that we can have, or at least me, because it's my opinion, right, that I can have a positive outlook in gaming in the future, because between 2022 and 2024, I was like really grim-minded. Grim-minded? That's not a word. I had a very grim outlook on the gaming industry. The direction in which gaming seemed to be skyrocketing towards was every game riddled with a bunch of greedy monetization practices, and then the consumers ignoring it and buying into them anyway. They just made so much money from it, it kept getting worse, and to the point where it's the plague that we see now. But this past year felt like a year of consequences. There were more critiques, less blind faith, and overall smarter consumers highlighting the issues that have become, well, a plague over the years. I gathered a lot of information for this video, and I actually learned a lot too, but of course, most of what I'm saying here is my opinion and my commentary on things, so I would love to know what you guys think the future of AAA gaming is going to look like. Don't forget to leave your likes, sacrifices for the algorithm gods, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!